Welcome to the ActsSocial Podcast. Today's special sponsors are Chick-fil-A, Hobby Lobby, and Grand Canyon University. Thank you so much to our generous sponsors. Let's get started. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again to the ActsSocial Podcast, where we always like to talk about having our guests on that have some really unique stories of how God has formed them into their ministries that they're doing nowadays. And today is definitely no different. I've got a really special guest on with me today, Robert Prash, and he hosts the Creating Greatness podcast, and he's got some really cool content on there, and he kind of does the same thing, man. He tells his story, and he goes through how God's formed him and his guests' lives and things like that. So I'm really excited for you all to get to meet him. So no further ado, got him right here. And Robert, welcome to the show, sir.
Man, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm truly blessed to be here. I'm grateful to be here. I love being a part of ActsSocial. It really is a great concept. It's a great new thing out there in the world. I'm just blessed and grateful to be a part of it. Really excited.
Awesome, man. Well, the blessing is ours, man. We're blessed to have you on because you and I talked, a week or two ago. I've forgotten now. Time gets away from me, but I was just blown away by your story, and I know our listeners will be too. So it's, inside our platform, we'll post this. We blast it out through our subscriber email list. So out of 130,000 plus people, there's gonna be some blessings happen, man, out of telling your story today. So with that, man, I know we've got a lot to cover here, but why don't we take it storyline style, and you kind of tell me about childhood and getting up, kind of like when you and I talked the other day, and how getting up and how God allowed you to go through some stuff that eventually ended up where we're at today. So I'll let you have the mic.
Yeah, awesome, man. And I think the biggest challenge with things like this is something that I struggle with daily. And it's making sure that you're always glorifying God and giving all credit due to God, because we can certainly, as human beings, get wrapped up in our own stories and how important they may be. But the story wouldn't be important if God didn't come into my life. So that's number one. When I was raised Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. I went to CCD. I learned the prayers. It never meant anything to me. I'm not discrediting anyone that was around me during my youth, but no one ever taught me about Jesus. They never explained to me that I can lean on him, that I could be with him in hard times, that he would respond to me, in fervent, honest prayer, that I can have a relationship with him. I didn't know that. I just thought, okay, this is what you're supposed to do, and this is where I'm supposed to go, and I did it right.
Yeah.
So I did it like that, and very quickly, because it wasn't firm, it wasn't real to me, I just fell right off track, and I fell very quickly into attention-seeking behavior. Friends, oh, this guy will do this. I jump in the lake. I would fight the guy. I was just really a knucklehead. And for lack of, a good father, or lack of leadership, or a lack of a really strong role model in my life, I continued to go down that hole, because that's where I felt okay. That was where I felt accepted. That's where I felt like I mattered in the world. In a world that's full of chaos and craziness, I finally felt like a part of a group.
Yeah.
Obviously, moving forward, there's no end in that. There's no, I got famous for being a knucklehead and I made millions of dollars. There's no ending like that. There's no ending like that. I sunk deeper and deeper into degradation, deeper and deeper into the pit, around the wrong kind of individuals, glorifying the wrong things in life, the things that Satan presents to the world: glamour, money, fame, women, material possessions, and all these different things. And as a young man, once again, without a strong guidance, and I don't say that to lay blame or even make an excuse. I say it just to kind of give you perspective as to why I continued down this downward spiral of life. So I'm looking at these things. I'm living this lifestyle. I'm hanging around with the wrong crowd. I'm getting involved with drinking and drugs and promiscuity and all these different things. I'm chasing momentary pleasures, the pleasures of the flesh, but unknowingly. At this point, I'm sinning unknowingly because I have no knowledge of the word. I have no knowledge of the gospel. I'm living fully in the world, fully immersed in the flesh.
Yeah.
And what that will bring you is death and destruction. I could say it with confidence because I've lived it. What I mean by that is just intense misery every day, cursing God, waking up, wanting to die, being too much of a coward to do it myself, addiction, in and out of incarceration, just deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like I always tell people, you could change your life. I do a self-improvement show. You could do things to improve your life, but ultimately, if you don't have God, you have this hole in you, and you try to fill it with all these worldly pleasures, women or drugs or drinking or different vices. People that aren't addicted, they think that it's okay. They're on their phone every minute. They're gambling. They're over shopping.
Right.
They're doing all
Right.
these different things that can also lead to this death and destruction and misery that I'm talking about.
You're right.
So just continue down that until I really reach my rock bottom with it in a prison cell in New Jersey, dazed and confused, out of my mind, charges, that I had maybe committed. I was accused of all these things, nothing of the sort of anything that, that's really bad, just theft and drugs and just stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
getting into trouble, not caring
Yeah.
about the consequences. I'm finally sitting here looking at these consequences. And I didn't find Jesus there. I know it would be a great story to go, and I found Jesus and everything changed. But,
Yeah.
the truth of the world, the truth of reality, the truth of each human being and our unique experiences, it can get kind of messy. It's not always a straight road.
Absolutely.
There's ups and downs and in betweens. And I didn't see it then. But what I did see is this is all your fault. That's what I saw. I saw nobody wants to talk to you. No one wants to answer the phone for you. No one wants to write you a letter. No one wants to visit you. They're all sick of you because you're a complete failure in every respect. And that hit me hard. And a lot of people would go, oh, that's so sad. But to me, it was not sad. To me, because it came simultaneously with a feeling that, like, okay, well, if I'm the only one that's going to save me, then I have to do it. And
Yeah.
then it also came to me like, this is all my fault. And I have a responsibility to change it. And once again, at the same time came the feeling of, I have the power to change this. If I have the power to create such degraded circumstances, then I have the same power. If I can flip it towards the light and towards the positive, then I can change my entire life. I'm not in jail for 100 years. I'm not dead. I can still change my life.
Right. Right.
So that right there gave me a perspective shift to where I was ready to try something new or try old things again, which when we're talking about religion. But I didn't go straight to that. I started exercising. First of all, I'm incarcerated, so I'm sober. My mind's getting clear. I started
Sure.
exercising. I started choosing the healthiest diet that I could have there and treating the body as a temple. Exercise, doing that. Then I started taking time in the morning to be still. And yes, I read a little bit of the Bible, but I still wasn't there yet. I was reading a lot about Buddhism. I was reading about Islam. I was reading about Christianity. I just didn't
Searching.
know. I was just searching. But the beautiful part about it is all of it brought me to Jesus, and it brought me to Jesus so firmly, so concretely that that's the beautiful part of it. So hear me out. I started taking the time to meditate. I prayed. I didn't know who I was praying to or what I was praying about. I just prayed about my worries, my concerns, my guilts, my frustrations, things that I was embarrassed about, things that I was ashamed about, things that I couldn't resolve myself with, things that stopped me from moving forward and finding faith and finding okayness and self-love and all these different things. So I get out. I'm on this huge positive wave. I'm realizing that, God is real and he's alive in my life and he's present in every little detail, because now I've come out of a place where I was 23 hours locked in, 1 hour outside. I barely seen outside. I barely seen my family. I barely got to touch good, wholesome food. So now that I'm out and I've experienced all these things, the joy and the gratitude is so immense. It's so immense. It overflows me and it spreads to my family, my friends, my coworkers, and all these different things. So a coworker was telling me, you're so positive, you should start a podcast. You could help people. I did it. And Creating Greatness came about. I started talking about all the things that I was just talking about that changed my life so that I could share it with the people in an effort to ease their suffering. Now, what happened on this podcast was people started coming to me with like yoga and meditation and religion and all these different aspects of self-improvement. I listened with open ears and open heart. What eventually kept happening is people would talk about Jesus. People would come on and talk about Jesus. I would get curious and I would look into Jesus. I started reading the
Yeah.
Bible. I started watching The Chosen and all these different things.
Yeah.
And what started happening to me is something beyond my control. It's something beyond theology. It's something beyond the Bible. I started just getting these goosebumps and this energy and this good feeling over and over and over again. Whenever Jesus' name would come up in the podcast or it would
Uh-huh.
come, and then I just knew it. And I started talking to a buddy of mine who's a longtime pastor. He came on the podcast a lot. He
Uh-huh.
volunteered in the prison system like I did and ministered. And
Uh-huh.
when we started talking, then it just exploded from there, man. We started the Bible study. We started bringing people on, talking about their journey into
Wow.
Christianity. And it's
Yeah.
just been, man, it's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome. That joy just exudes, and you can feel it in people, just talking even over our camera stuff, man. It doesn't even have to be in person. That joy, comes out and it will bring a grown man to tears, when that slams to you for the first time too. Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's awesome. Yeah, that's super awesome. Tell me, what out of all this, I know all of this is kind of what created the podcast on that, but what out of all this can you see now looking back through all the mess? And you know what they say? I think we said it the other day. There's always a message in everybody's mess. Out of all those situations, what do you think some of the main breaking points were? You kind of went over them a little bit, but just the highlights that really, really snapped it.
Well, I think that relationships was one.
Mm-hmm.
We human beings were meant for human contact. So
Mm-hmm.
when I realized I didn't have anyone to have a relationship with, and I don't mean like my spouse, my wife, I mean mom, dad, friend, like
Yeah,
no one
yeah,
was willing to deal with me. And then also now the knowledge that is I always have Jesus. Like it doesn't matter. Like I believe that family matters. I believe that friends matter. I believe that community matters. But at the end of the day, none of it is more important than God and Jesus because through him, all things. So I think that now I have that reliance, but not having a relationship broke me. I think the isolation of incarceration, once again, it's being alone, it's not knowing that you have anyone. And then now I think one of the main things to tell people is that you think that you go through like some really major struggles in life, whether it was something like mine or maybe it's the divorce or death, something major that brings you down to your knees. And maybe you do some soul searching, you figure some things out, you start leaning into your faith, you start actually abiding by the commandments, because not that I'm not a sinner,
right. Yeah,
but
ditto.
I find
Yeah,
that a lot of people, they want to be part of a religion. It's like the saying, I think it's Hippocrates. He says, everyone wants healing until it shows up in the form of discipline. So when you
yeah,
want
yeah, yeah.
Jesus and you want to be closer to God and you
Uh-huh.
want to walk in faith,
Uh-huh.
man, it's going to change you. You have to
Yeah,
change. You have to
yeah,
have that discipline. You have to walk in his way. You can't just say, oh, I love Jesus, and you drinking and smoking and all these different
yeah,
things.
yeah,
So you think that your life will get immediately better. I've accepted Jesus, my Lord and Savior. I got a
yeah.
group, I've got a network. When your life gets better, because now you're on the road, man, you're going to experience some adversity. You're going to
Yeah,
experience
yeah.
some adversity. I mean, I've experienced trying times as a Christian just here in the last 6 months that brought me
Huh?
to my knees, man. And I'm like, yo, wow, I've been through heck and
Yeah.
back. Like, what is going on? But it's because now I'm trying to walk firmly in the faith. When I have a problem, I can't go
Wow.
out and drink. I can't go out and
Yeah.
be away from my family. I have to face it. I have to be here. I have to be the strong man for my family. And I have to also continue to abide by God's law.
Right.
So it
Right.
gets difficult, but it's so worth it
It's worth it.
because
Yeah.
the fruit that you bear from it, it's honest, it's righteous, it's
Yeah.
wholesome fruit, man, and it's more
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very sustainable. It is the real deal. It's the truth. I think that's what it brings down to the core. You can say the truth over and over again, but until you go through everything and then realize your simple foundations of Jesus and the truth, it kind of simplifies all the complexities of life and you go back down to, wow, that's the truth. Now that I've dealt with all this crap for years and for some people, decades and decades, it's so simple back down to it's the truth. Back to
I think
to
that's
him.
one of the most important things to remember as a Christian, especially a new Christian, because I tend
Yeah.
to be on the extreme side of things. Like, obviously, that's why I went down the road that I went in the negative way. But because I'm all in, like, if I do anything, I'm all in. think I want to know it all. I'm reading all the Bible. I'm watching the shows. I'm watching all these different shows from in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
past. I'm going to church. I'm talking
Yeah.
to my brothers. I want to soak it all in.
Yeah.
But
Soaking it in and growing. Yeah.
whenever I could get overwhelmed, I always remember the core message of Jesus, like love and forgiveness, be Christ-like in my behavior, and focus on that. And don't get caught up in different interpretations. Because sometimes, I'm curious. I'm a human. I want to know what
Yeah.
this means in the Bible, or I want to know what it means when Jesus said this. What did he mean? And I think
Yeah.
sometimes when you can get hung up on those things, for me anyway, keep it on me. It could get me questioning my faith or weak in my faith. But if I
Yeah.
go back to the main core message and what I need to be doing every day is just focusing on trying to be more Christ-like in my behavior, loving,
Yeah.
kind, forgiving, and that always simplifies it for me. And I try to
Yeah.
tell people that as well when they get overwhelmed with all the theology stuff.
Man, it's not just you. I tell you what, it's worldwide cultures, because I think that you hinted on that I think really spurs on why we have so many different denominations on the same exact God on this. Our Baptists and our non-denominationals and the Catholics and stuff like that. It's because the core message is there, but boy, does it ever get lost in the mix on the details. And I think that theologians dig and dig and dig so deep and lose the overall simplicity focus of the Gospels, in the middle, that us humans screw it up over the centuries, and it creates denominations with a bunch of man-made rules, which is the whole reason you brought up The Chosen. I always chuckle watching The Chosen when he talks to the Pharisees and says, look, you've got all these man-made rules. Your man-made rules have become your God. And sometimes the denominations do the same crap, 2,000 years later. So, yeah, I completely agree with you, man. It ain't just you. Yeah, it's,
I think it hurts
yeah,
people's faith when they see other Christians arguing. I think it turns
mm,
away. I think it gives our critics a voice when they see
yeah,
it. I
yeah,
think that it turns away new believers. Yeah, I think that,
for
I've
sure.
experienced only the negative stuff I've experienced online is from people going, that's not in the Bible, and all this stuff.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
go, "Yeah, but we all worship Jesus. We all praise Jesus. Can we
yeah,
just
yeah,
get
yeah.
along on that and we'll go from there?"
I know, man. I know. I think you and I might have talked about this a week or two
We
ago in our
did, yeah.
our meeting, how we would love to. We don't write this in our terms or what we believe stuff. We stay at the core belief on our site, what we believe and our core values. But nonchalantly, we'd kind of like to lower the walls down in between the denominations, and that's asking a lot. We'll never pull it off. But if we just lower the walls a little bit, then you're right, man. It gives the critics something to talk about when we're bickering, and it turns off a lot of people when they're constantly bickering and they get away from that true faith foundation that you're talking about, and now. So,
Amen.
yeah, man. I got another question. Because I didn't grow up in Catholic. I grew up in deep, small town Southern Baptist. 30 people in our little town. As a kid. In the church, no more than ever 30 people in the church, growing up on Sunday mornings and Wednesdays. But so I grew up with it, but I'm same as you, man. It never really kicked in. But I will say, my question is growing up, at least in the Catholic realm as a kid, it probably had some seeds planted. So there was some type of sand, shaky foundation, to say at the least, because you at least grew up, with some of that stuff. There was some pieces that when you started falling, you had something to at least claw onto on the way down, at least in your head, knowledge of God.
I think the main thing was the prayers, really. I never forgot the Our Father. I always go back to it. And
I
I
forget
did it
about
when I
that.
didn't know how to pray. And then
Yeah.
also to see the solace that it brings my mom. I'm a big family guy. And when I was able to reestablish the relationships with my family, doing the
Mm,
right thing, didn't say nothing to them, didn't talk about nothing. They just seen the changes in me. They
yeah.
started coming back around. And, my mom's went through a lot, and to see her with her rosary and Hail Mary and just
Yeah.
every practicing Lent and
Yeah.
all the Catholic traditions. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
practice Lent as well. I go to a Catholic church because my mom and my wife are Catholic, and I'm unwilling to have that argument because I've broached it
Right.
on like
Yeah.
very small levels, like, "Hey, would you guys like to try a different church?" And
Yeah.
was totally rebuked. I'll
Yeah.
never try that again.
Crickets.
I am
Yeah.
the head of my household, but man, I do take advice from everyone, and I understand. I mean, she's steeped in it, and I enjoyed Lent. It really helped me, and I'm going to do it this year.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, having that prayer, the Our Father, and seeing the people around me constantly be comforted by it. I think we all
yeah.
could use a little comfort in this world.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely right. Oh man, that ain't. Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast right there. Yeah.
Amen, brother. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of family, how has family been from the transition into now? You said they eventually came back around, so you didn't taunt change. You just showed it, I assume.
Well, I was in church the other day, and the pastor said that what we could do as Christians, like the very best thing that we could do, is live a life that's worthy, to follow the law and represent
Right.
Christianity in our life, in the way that we live our life. And there's no amount of words or on paper or right here out loud on the
Right.
podcast could be as impactful as a life well lived. And when my
Right.
family seen that, they brought it right back to me. And then it's something again that I relearned, because I think as we age, we relearn stuff a lot of times, and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
having children and having my wife, I realized that I have to be the spiritual leader of my household. My wife handles so many things, and she's so good at all of it. And we wouldn't be where we're at without it. We wouldn't be where we're at if I didn't listen to her and she didn't listen to me, and we didn't work
Yeah.
together like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But as far as going to church, making sure we're saying our prayers, making sure that we're helping our community, making sure that my sons are being raised kind but strong, and
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things like that. I have to be those things.
Right.
I can't just say we should go to church, we should
Yeah.
pray, we should be not watching these movies that don't align with our beliefs. I have to do it. And when I do it and I live my life like a good Christian, I not only represent my faith good, but I start the ministry in the home, so that
Right.
my ministry is already there. It already exists. Before one person listens to Creating Greatness podcast, it's there in my family. I have 3 sons. They're all God fearing. They all know how to pray. They all go to
That's
church with
awesome.
me. They all know how to do
Awesome.
yoga and meditate, and they know about physical fitness. They
Yeah.
know how to make a dollar, and they know what the worth of that dollar is. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, family is everything. I realize that my life is meaningless unless I'm sacrificing for my family. The whole purpose of a man is not only in a family realm, it's not only the spiritual leader, but it's your job to sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice for the greater good.
Right.
It's our
Right.
job to serve and sacrifice. And in that service and sacrifice, not only will you find purpose and passion and all these different things, but the rewards that God will bless you with are beyond anything that you sacrifice. So
Yeah.
I sacrificed my time, I sacrificed my emotions, I sacrificed money or time with other people, my
Huh.
friends, to do all these things with my family and be with my children. But the fruits that you will bear because of that, the joy, the peace, the contentment, and it's the sustainability of it, those things will bring you momentary pleasure. This is what brings you pleasure day in and day out. You wake up, your kids are smiling, they're
That's
healthy,
right.
they love you. It's the
Right.
most meaningful thing in this world. I truly think that's part of our purpose here as men.
You're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. And can I assume that that's what the Creating Greatness podcast entire circle, everything circles around, is those
Uh,
exact stuff? Tell the audience a little bit about your podcast and stuff. We'd like to drive people over there. Your highlights, and I think you just covered what the whole podcast was about. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Give us
Hey,
a good
man, you know
summary.
what? We talked about this as well. It's like if you type in Robert Prash or Creating Greatness podcast, you may not even get my podcast. You may just get a feature that I was on, because I've done so many and I love doing it.
Huh?
I love talking. The Lord did give me the gift of gab, and it is my job to use it. But it has evolved, man. And just like those
Huh?
features that I was just talking about, there's things that I said then, not that I ever said anything that wasn't wholesome, but
Yeah,
I've just
yeah, yeah.
said things that I don't now agree with. I've said things that I don't necessarily align with now. And I've done that on my
Yeah,
podcast. I mean, I've been doing it for 5 years. So in the very beginning, it was
yeah.
purely self improvement. I
Huh?
had wasted so much time being a knucklehead. I felt like I was behind. I wanted to catch up. I finally knew that I was worth something in the world. I also wanted to share it, because it was also my firm belief that if my neighbor does well, then I do well. It's not like I want to gatekeep all this stuff that I
Right.
found out. Like, no, I want you all to know anything that could possibly improve the quality of your life. A, because I suffered enough for at least a few people, and I don't want people to suffer. B,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I truly believe that if my neighbor does well, then I will do well. And if we all do well, we all will do well, and we build each other up like that, like a pyramid. We don't fall because we help someone up, you know. So I did all that, and then we got into more, you know, talking about religion and Jesus. And then I really went through a period where I really suffered and struggled because my desire and my ambition to succeed and be successful in a worldly way was very much in opposition to my desire to be closer to God and to glorify only Him in my works. So I want to share something with you if I could find it. The book is called How to, it's a Jonathan Rooney, he told me to read. It's
Oh
called How
yeah.
to Cultivate Your Interior Garden. How to Cultivate Your Interior
Ah.
Garden, How to Be Somebody by M.V. Mendez. And what they talk about
Uh-huh.
in this book is how to truly be great. What is greatness? What is it really? Is it
Uh-huh.
money, fortune, and fame, and validation, and people patting you on the back, telling you how good you are? Is that greatness? I don't believe so anymore. And
Right.
that's why I've came to resolve this issue in my mind and in the podcast, because there was even a time where I was going to change the name. We're doing Bible studies, we're talking about Christian everyday problems and everyday living.
Uh-huh.
Why am I still calling it Creating Greatness? Until I read this book, and he said only God determines your greatness, and you can only be great
Right.
in the eyes of God. And how
Right.
what we need to do for God to smile on us is make everything that we do and offer it up to the Lord. So I
Mm.
mean, man, when I'm washing dishes, when I'm sweeping the floor, when I'm cleaning my pool, when I'm teaching my children, I'm doing it like God's eyes are not all the time. I fail, I
I know.
sin.
I know.
I
Yeah. Same.
strive to do this way and offer everything up to the Lord, even the smallest job that I do. And that I know that I'm great in His eyes, and that way I'm truly great no matter what the world says about me. So that's what we focus on now, how to be great in the eyes of God.
Yeah, yeah. All right, man. Well, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, I tell you what, I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna push that out now to the audience to go search Robert Prash Creating Greatness podcast. Or if you're on the ActsSocial platform, you'll find him in the feeds and through the Christian creator sections and things as well. And got some good guests on, and you also tell your story elsewhere. And I think I know that because of what you've went through, your message has been in your mess, and you're going to bless many, many people for many years still to come, man. So thank you so very much for getting on and telling us that. That's something. That's something. That's something. Man, thank you. Thank you
No,
so very
thank
much.
you.
We're almost out of time, but yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
man.
so good. And
No,
we'd like
thank
to.
you so much for having me on. Thank everyone for listening. I can only pray that my message will reach and help anyone out there. Yeah, let's get you on Creating Greatness. We're waiting for you, brother.
Hey, man, that sounds like a plan. That sounds like a plan. Well, thank you so very much for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, find Robert Prash online. Go and search him out or find him inside the ActsSocial platform and connect with his other channels even through there. You will not be sorry. You'll be blessed by his show. Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed week. Bye for now.